Hey guys, it's Casey, and today I've got for you a book haul. So I know in my last video, which I think was posted in September, I just said that that was probably going to be my last book haul for a while, but apparently I have no self-control, so here we go. But, okay, let's start. I'm looking at all of these books that I got, and I genuinely don't remember getting this many. Sometimes I try to categorize this into like genre or whatever, but these are all just in a pile on my floor, so I'm just gonna start. So the first book I've got is Sleeping Giants by Sylvia Newell, and this is a sci-fi book about a little girl who I believe falls into a cavern or something like that and gets caught by a giant hand, and then she grows up to be maybe like an archaeologist or something that studies them. I don't really know the exact details of it, but it's a sci-fi, and I've really been wanting to read it, and I found a discounted version at a bookstore recently, and let me just show you how pretty this hardback is. Like, without the dust jacket, this is just on the edges of it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm very excited that I found it. There are a couple in this haul that I've already read, but I haven't officially hauled yet, so this is one of those, and that is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is an urban fantasy about the city of New York becoming a person. So in this version of our world, the cities, once they reach a certain cultural distinctiveness and personality to themselves, will manifest into literal avatars of people, and so this one follows the birth of New York cities while these weird eldritch forces try to stop it. Super weird, but I did love this one. Next, I've got a bunch of graphic novels and manga, and the first one is My Hero Academia Volume 2 by Kohei Horikoshi. And this is about a boy named Midoriya who lives in a world where about 80% of the population has developed some kind of quirk or superpower, and he has not, but eventually he inherits a power from the #1 hero, All Might, and this follows him as he goes to school to train to become a superhero. And next I have volumes 2 and 3 of Ouran High School Host Club by Bisco Hattori. This is a ridiculous rom-com manga story about a girl named Haruhi who goes to this really prestigious school on a scholarship. One day she goes into what she thinks is abandoned music room to study, ends up encountering the host club, knocks over an expensive vase, and they say that if she joins the host club and she can work to repay the debt. They're just a really fun, good time, and I have the next couple of volumes and I'm excited. So next I have volumes 4 and 5 of The Wicked and the Divine. I don't have volume 3 yet, but I actually ordered 3 and 4 and got sent 4 and 5, so 3 is also on its way. But this story by Gillen McKelvey and Wilson Cowles follows this idea about gods. The idea being that gods come around every 100 years and kind of come back to Earth and demand some kind of worship. However, now in the modern days, they don't get that from their traditional followers, so instead they manifest as things like pop stars and things like that. It has been a very long time since I've read these. I've read volumes 1 and 2, and I've had them for a while. So honestly, before I read further into the series, I'm probably gonna reread the first 2 because I don't really remember much of what happens. I just remember really enjoying the art style and thinking it was a really cool concept. Look at all the colors. It's so colorful and interesting and just, oh, I love it. And then next I have this absolute unit, which is Monstrous Book 1 by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. So I actually don't know a huge amount about this. I know that it follows a girl who only has one arm that gets involved with this sort of eldritch beast being, but that is literally it. I've seen this kind of floating around as a very interesting dark comic series, and I've really wanted to get more into those. And rather than buy the individual volumes, I decided to just go for this big book because I found it for a really good price. This thing is heavy, oh my god. Next we have Less by Andrew Sean Greer, and if this sounds familiar, it should. I've talked about this book a couple of times, but I've never actually owned a copy. So one of my friends lent me this book earlier this year because she thought I would love it, and she was right. This is absolutely one of my favorite books of the year. But I found it again for a discounted price and thought, well, now is the time to pick it up. It's only $3. So Less is about an author named Arthur Less, who is sort of a middle-aged gay man who is looking to try to figure out what love means. And it follows him as he's going on these world travels to kind of find himself and figure out what's important to him and what love means to him. And it's just so good. And another one that I've already read is Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. So this is the second book to the Locked Tomb trilogy and the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. So this follows the events from Gideon the Ninth and is told from Harrow's perspective and is really interesting and weird. So this is a science fantasy or sci-fi book. The tagline for the first book was Lesbian Necromancers in Space, and it really is just a super weird, vaguely creepy, kind of funny romp, and it's its own unique thing that's really kind of difficult to describe, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. This one, maybe even a little bit more than the first one. And then this is the last one that I've already read, I promise, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I read this, I think, last week, and oh my god, it was so good. But we'll talk about that later. But this is Victoria Schwab's newest release that follows a woman named Addie LaRue who makes a deal essentially so that she can be free to see the world and experience what life has to offer. But the way that that deal ends up working out is that she is immortal and cannot die. However, she is immediately forgotten by anyone. No one can remember her, and she cannot leave a physical mark. So this follows Addie LaRue in like modern day New York as she finally finds someone that remembers her name. And it's such a good book. Oh my god, I loved it. Next is actually two poetry collections, and that is Date and Time by Phil Kay. I don't really have a synopsis on account of it being a poetry collection. And the next one is Obit by Victoria Chang. So this one I actually can give kind of a synopsis for. So if I'm understanding it correctly, this is written right after her mother died, and she goes through and she writes obituaries for a bunch of other things that in her life that have died, and like, I don't know exactly how it works, but I know this ends up being sort of a collection of different like poems that are written like obituaries, and it's gonna be really sad, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so the next two are ones that a classmate actually gifted to me because he wants me to read them, and that is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, which is a very famous, dense Russian classic that scares the hell out of me. I don't really know what it's about. I believe there's a murder and a trial. That's literally all I know. I just know that this is one of like the big Russian classics that everyone says you kind of should read, including him. That's why he got it for me. So I will probably be reading this early next year because he got it for me, and now I feel like I should. Plus, I mean, this is one like I probably should read at some point anyway. I don't know. But I do like the cover of it. And he also got me a bind-up of all of the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So this has all, I think, 7 of the novels in here. Could I honestly even tell you what the Chronicles of Narnia is about? No, I cannot, but I know that it involves children going through a wardrobe to Narnia, and that is about all I actually know about this, but he knows that I'm a big fantasy reader and was shocked to find out that I hadn't read this because this is, again, one of his favorites, and so I got this. Again, be looking out for me to be reading this before probably early next year. So there's 2 more books on this list, one of which isn't physically here yet, but it gets here in like 2 days, and I don't want to have to haul it when I haul my stuff from Christmas, and hopefully I don't buy too many books between now and Christmas anyway, so I just wanted to go ahead and include it in here, and that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So I'm reading this for my Reading the Goodreads Choice Nominees video that I'm working on and almost done with. And I've always had the intention of buying this book eventually, but I went back and forth on like what version I wanted for a long time. But eventually I just decided to pull the trigger and buy it, so it'll be here, and I'm very excited. I also don't really know the plot of The Way of Kings. I just know that it is the first book in Stormlight Archive, which is a massive high fantasy series that's considered kind of Brandon Sanderson's like magnum opus a little bit. It's gonna be, I think, fully a 10-book series, and Rhythm of War just came out, which is the 4th one. Love me a good sprawling epic high fantasy, which is definitely what I'm getting into with this one, but I don't know what it's about, but I'll be reading it in the next 2 weeks, so figured I'd put it here. And then there's one I've saved for last because I'm so excited about it, and I just got it today. And that's The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I actually am physically holding it instead of just throwing up a picture about it this time, and I'm very excited. So this is the 3rd and final book to the Poppy War series, which I've been reading this year and absolutely adoring. The Poppy War is a grimdark fantasy series that is based on Chinese history, and it talks about the grim, harsh realities of war. It's a really hard read, but it's amazing, and I've heard that this finale from like advanced readers copies and things like that is absolutely going to wreck me, and I'm so ready. Also, it's purple. So all of the covers have kind of the white with the colored smoke, and it's been what, red and blue or orange and blue, and then purple, which I'm very excited about. Oh, I can't lift this many books. Oh, I've not stacked them well. Okay, that's it. Oh, how did this happen? Oh, it's falling. Okay, well, I'm just holding up the stack now so it doesn't fall over, so I guess I'll do my outro from this distance. But anyway, that is finally all I've got for you guys today. If you want to keep up with what I'm reading, I have a link to my Goodreads in the description below, but other than that, I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna deal with this pile.